Hello, this is Greg Allison from Green Greg's Garden and Worm Farm, coming to you on the 4th of August 2020. And today we're going to talk about wild lettuce, wild painkiller, and what it can do for you, and things you have to be careful of too. And so we're going to talk about 3 different varieties of wild lettuce which grow throughout North America, and we're going to talk about 5 different ways to use it as a medicine. This is a lot more territory than most videos on this subject go into. Now, I've waited to do this video because I was needing to do it in the morning so I could catch one particular type of lettuce in bloom. Unfortunately, that type has almost died out, so today's about the last day I can do this video. So I've had to take a lunch break from my work in order to do this, and that's been a bit difficult. So we're going to talk about this. Now, what I got to tell you is there's 50 different varieties of wild lettuce, over 50 different varieties of wild lettuce. And you know, I'm going to talk about the 3 principal ones here in North America. There's a couple of other varieties, and some of them have different appearances, and some of them, 2 of them are a little bit hard to distinguish at times from each other, but we'll talk about that in general ways to distinguish them. So and you also should know that you can use them as a food, but as in all wild edibles, greens and so forth, typically you want to eat them when they're young and tender. And lettuce as a food can be eaten raw, or you might want to steam it, especially if you want to kill the bugs. I wouldn't steam it too heavy because, you know, the leaves tend to be a little bit on the tender side, but you can definitely steam it. So, but our main topic here is the medicinal side of the lettuce. So before we go into that, I got to give you some disclaimers. And one disclaimer is, Mother Nature, the natural world around us, is full of plants that are beautiful, tasty, good to eat, and good for you. But many of these plants can make you sick, harm you, or kill you. And medicinals may be more powerfully so. Excuse me. So the medicinals can definitely help you, out, or they could be abused, and the abuse could harm you greatly. So one of the, you know, I'm also got to say, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not prescribing anything. I'm going to tell you how some people talk about using these things, but they're by no means a prescription from Greg Allison. I don't do that. I'm just telling you what people say about this stuff. You've got to judge for yourself between you and your medical doctor. But now, if there's a plant out there that you don't know 100%, do not use it. Go to a plant expert for local plants in your area before you partake, eat, or use any plant to medicate. I have seen people that thought they were experts picking plants and actually picking a completely different species of plant than what they thought. I covered that in my Plantain video, by the way. Also, you need to know, I have heard a story of a person who took the sap from wild lettuce, the milky sap, and it is the sap that's the business end of the lettuce. It's a white latex. That sap is where the medicinal power of the lettuce is at. And I have heard a story of an individual that took that and condensed it in some way, dried it out, and tried to smoke it in a pipe, and it did severe damage to him. So, you know, word of warning, this is a medicinal. It is an opiate substitute. A lot of people use this as an opiate. Apparently it hits a lot of the same receptors as opium. So, you know, this is not a toy. It's not something to play with. But it can be a very powerful painkiller. You just need to use it properly, and I would say in reduced amounts when you start out. So you've got to be very careful with that. Now, I'm going to go into, in a moment, the 3 different varieties and then the 5 different medicinal ways to use them. So before I do that, I must say, please subscribe to my channel, bang the update notification bell, and click all, because you're going to see more videos on wild edibles, wild medicinals, how to grow your own food, what's going on in the world. The proposition of my channel is to help you survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. That's what I'm going to bring to you. And it covers a broad background on topics, including worm farming. And I will get back to more worm videos because that's what a lot of people subscribe for. So trust me, we are going back into that. But there's a whole lot of things coming at us in our world today, and we need to know how to be able to survive without having to go to the store and the pharmacy, which may not be there in the near future. So what can you do in the wild? So let's start out. Oh yeah, before I do that, I must say, yeah, because of those hard times, you need to know that you got to be prepared. You may not be able to go to the stores. You may, you know, if it goes down, all you got is all you got, what you got right now, or at that point in time will be all you have, especially if the grid goes down, because you're not going to be able to go to stores at all. So you better consider buying seeds. Go to Tree Leaf Market, get seeds. You can get heirloom seeds you can replant. That's a great source. Also, if you live in the city, you can grow microgreens in your home. Get microgreen seeds. You can plant a few of those in a pot and put them somewhere where they can grow to seed and make more seeds. So there's ways to do that. Maybe get you a little solar power. It would help. Or if you got some windows, you don't really need lights to grow microgreens. I can cover that more in the future. Now, also prepping supplies. My gosh, guys, you should have started prepping years ago. Hopefully you have. If you haven't, jump. But if you are a prepper, this might be the last best chance to shore up your prepping supplies. I've got a special with prepwithgreg.com. Go to prepwithgreg.com. You can get a 4-week supply of 25-year-long storage food. This got good food, wide varieties, different meals. Last you 4 weeks, and you can live off that food. You need to look at that, because $100 off a 4-week supply of 25-year-long food storage is an excellent deal. You can buy several of them, stock up, get them while you can. And you can go click on the logo on that page where it says My Patriot Supply, which is a little bit more than a logo. But click on that, and it'll take you to their website, and you can get all kind of prepping supplies, water purification and so forth. So, yeah, truck driving by. So, pardon me for that. Now, let's get into the lettuces, the 3 types of lettuce. So, what we're going to start out here with is Lactucca Verosa. Lactucca Verosa is a giant lettuce. Some people have mistaken it for giant dandelions. I've been told by some, hey, I've got giant dandelions on my place. I said, nope, that's wild lettuce. Which is good to know. Wild lettuce is very good to have, very good to grow, right? So I'm going to show you some Lactucca Verosa. I'm going to show you a couple of ginormous plants that are past. I'm going to show you another plant growing in my yard here. I've saved it for doing this video, by the way, and I've saved a few of these. And I'm going to show you 2 other versions right here in my front yard, and we're going to walk the back and look at some good samples there too of healthier Lactucca Verosa. We're starting out in my front yard because there is one lettuce type that I only got here. Actually 2 of them. So the Lactucca Verosa, it's called giant lettuce. It can grow 7, maybe 9 foot tall. I mean, it can get really tall. It has a purple stalk. The leaves are lobed. Sometimes they're saw, got the sawtooths to them, but they're usually heavily lobed leaves, purple stem, not always purple, but usually purple. See, that's where you get to some confusion. Sometimes there's little varieties in these plants, so you have to really look at them carefully to sometimes tell one species from another. And one of these examples here, you kind of leave you wondering a little bit between the 2 of the species that are very similar. And we'll talk about that. Again, the medicine is in the milky white sap, and for this it is the chemical is it's, what is that chemical called? It's Lactucca picarin, and there's another chemical in this called lactucrin. Now it's called Lactucca Verosa. The lactucca, the lactic, it comes from like lactic acid. It means milk. And you'll find all these lettuces, wild lettuces, start out with Lactucca something. So, but that just means milk. So that is the business end of this lettuce. Now, when it's young, the milk is not very strong and potent. Back when you're eating the leaves for the young plants, it's not so strong. They say it's best to collect the sap when the flowers are about to fall off. When the flowers fall off, that's when it's going to seed. Or it may be best when the seeds are falling out too, because it does get stronger as the plant gets older, but also the sap will start going down and eventually dry out as the plant dies out. And I'm going to show you a couple of samples. It's been running my aquaponics system that have almost died out. And like I said, we're going to look at a wide variety of these. So they say it cures warts. It's kind of a hypnotic, a narcotic, a sedative, a diuretic, and it's used as an opiate. Also, you might use it as a step down from opium addictions, especially if you can't find those drugs. If the grid goes down, somebody's been on it, or they can't get the prescriptions. I've heard many horror stories of people that couldn't get a prescription for a step down drug and went back. I've been trying to sneeze here, excuse me, since we started the video. Pardon me. Hopefully that'll get me out of that. That's what, part of what's been distracting me. Anyway, so it might be part of the cure to getting over an opium type addiction. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not prescribing anything. Please don't take it for that. I'm just talking conjectures. What could be, what might be. And by the way, it has yellow flowers, typically. And it's got these fruit, which are a little seed, about 2/10 of an inch long. And it has the little white puff balls like parachutes that you see with dandelions. So, now lettuce does the same way. Actually, a lot of your other garden variety lettuces are like that too. So let's go look at some of this. Lactucca Verosa. And here are two examples growing out of my aquaponics system. I had rye in here last winter and I just let it grow up with weeds this year. You gotta have some kind of plants in it. And I have been so busy. This is the first year I haven't planted out my aquaponics system. This one. But to give you an example, that's kind of a purplish stalk right here. And these leaves are already dried. So I could go ahead and pull those and use them for one of the examples I'm talking about here. I may just pull one of these up, but if I cut into here, there might still be some sap even though it's drying out. Let's see. This one's so dry, it's dying. There's just a little sap, but I'm not seeing the milk sap. I'm seeing some wet. Actually, I cut in here a couple of days ago and saw some sap. But let's cut this one, see if it's got any. Like I say, the sap starts drying out when they start dying. That's why you don't want to wait too long. That's why it's probably best to get them right after the flowers fall off. There's just a wee little bit maybe. Yeah, there's some. I'm going to pull this one out. See, this one doesn't have much of a taproot. The other varieties do. I want you to look at this guy. I think this guy's over 9 foot tall. They say they grow 9 foot tall. I am fairly confident. This one looks more like 10 or 11 foot, maybe 12 foot tall. And you see, there's no taproot. Typically, when you pull one of these up, I'm losing all these nice medicinal leaves. You'll see that sap coming out of the roots too. This is definitely the tallest of your wild lettuces. You can see the stem's purplish. Lactucca Verosa, my friends. There it is, in person. Now, one of the characteristics of Lactucca Verosa is the leaves often get smoother as they get higher. This one is not as tall, but you can see it's got this smoother leaf down here, and it's got this more sawtooth pattern down here. But it doesn't have too much purple in the stem, maybe a little bit, but not too much. So you could almost mistake this for another variety that I'm going to tell you about in a moment, because the other variety gets as tall as this too. Sharpen it. I got 2 pocket knives in my pocket. Didn't realize that. I always say no self-respecting redneck to be caught dead without a pocket knife. Yeah, that sap's a little brownish looking, brownish greenish. I guess it's more greenish. Should be white. It's got the sap in it, but it's getting old too. This one's getting old. Now, I got some sap here. I can use that sap directly. But you can see the flowers have been long gone. It's at the puffball stage here. You can see the puffballs right here. And they look just like dandelions. You see the little fruits on them. Little parachute looking things. It's like a dandelion. So this one should have been harvested earlier too for the sap. That's a latex, milky latex. So what we're going to talk about next is another variety. It's called Lactucca canadensis. Lactucca canadensis. Now I have seen other YouTube channels talking about these, misidentify these lettuces. I've seen them call this lettuce here Lactucca Verosa and vice versa. And that's not correct. So I'm going to show you the difference. This is also a wild lettuce. It does not grow as tall. This is also known as Canada lettuce or Florida blue lettuce. Don't look too blue to me, although there might be a little bluish colors to it in here. Maybe that's why they call it blue, but you know, a Florida lettuce, a Canada lettuce, yeah, I think they're a little bit way apart. Thing is, it grows pretty much all over North America. But what the characteristic of this lettuce is, the leaves are all lobed here. They got that lion's tooth look to them, kind of like dandelions, dandelion, which I covered in a previous video. They all got that lion tooth type pattern. Maybe not as much so as a dandelion leaf, but it goes all the way up. The stalks are thinner. See, the stalks are thinner, but these can grow 7 foot tall. And that's where it can get kind of confusing. They can grow 7 foot tall. They are kind of bluish, which gives them similar to that purplish look. And they make yellow flowers like the other guys. These flowers make little rays when they come out and open. This one would also be, this one might be a better one here to get some sap out of, because it is still a fresh plant here in terms of making. It's not that mature. So let's check it out, see what kind of sap we get coming out of it. Oh yeah, she's making sap real fast, as you can see here. See that? We got the sap right there. I got some of it on my pocket knife. So you can actually use that sap directly. And you can see the little seeds and the white tufts, the little parachutes. There's actually a name for those parachutes. It's called a white pappus, a white pappus. And again, that small little fruit's about 2/10 of an inch long in general. I never really thought of them as a fruit, but that's what I haven't seen them classified. They're definitely a seed. Now, I've heard some rumors of using seed oil. But these are also, they say they can fight muscular arthritis. It's a diuretic, a hypnotic, a narcotic. And the medicine in here, the active chemical in this variety is Lactucca carium. So Lactucca carium. Lactucca carium. Slightly different chemical than in Lactucca Verosa. Again, this is Lactucca canadensis. Canadensis. That's kind of hard for me to say. Kind of like Florensis. Canadensis. Now, this don't grow in Nevada or Arizona. There's also another variety that goes real well up in the northwest that I don't really have here. So, again, sometimes they're a little bit hard to distinguish one from another. Now I'm going to show you a third variety, and we're going to walk in the back in a moment, and I will show you some really nice Lactucca Verosas, which are still in their prime, and you can still do a lot of stuff with them if you so choose. So, hang on. So what I'm going to show you next, I'll just tell you as we're walking to it, is Lactucca Floridana. Lactucca Floridana. Sometimes it's called Carolina Blue Dream. And the reason for that is it has blue blooms. This one has almost died on me. And it's got some blooms that are starting to close up, but they're only available like in the morning times. And here it is. This plant is almost dead. Unfortunately, the leaves branch out a lot more. You can see the little blue flowerette here. These are pretty blooms. I mean, these blooms have almost died on me, unfortunately. These are very pretty blooms, and this is what I was waiting to want to show you. Unfortunately, this plant has been dying on me real fast. Yesterday, these blooms looked really nice, so I thought I was going to get a good bloom video. I can see today is probably the last day of this plant to be viable. I'm not going to cut it because, well, I could. But then again, I don't know where it's going to be in the process of making the milk sap, the lactic, medicinal. Let me put a little cut here and see what we get. I know this plant has not really been discussed much in the terms of medicinals. It's a very pretty flowering plant. The leaves, you know, are more like this. They're not the leaves like you'd see on dandelions directly, not usually. They're more like the longer leaves you see on, but smaller, more narrow, on the Lactucca Verosa. So this one is also in the, both this one and the Lactucca canadensis are both in the dandelion tribe of the daisy flower family. They both proceed from a longer taproot. This has a taproot, kind of like a dandelion, and so does the other one I just shown you, the Lactucca canadensis. They both have taproots. It can have blue or white flowers. Get this. The medicine of this one is 18-beta B-dihydrolacturcan 8-O-acetate hemihydrate. You know, that don't even sound natural. That is a funny name for something you'd find in nature. This is Lactucca Floridana. This grows all over North America, at least from central Canada to Florida. And I just showed you another sample, another plant of this type. For some reason, this one is laying down. It's been knocked down. But this can grow up to 6 foot tall. Again, it grows from the taproot. It's in the daisy, dandelion tribe of the daisy family. It can grow 6.6 foot tall and can have white flowers. But look at that flower. Isn't that just beautiful? That is such a beautiful plant. You can see the flowers over here. I didn't notice this one because it was knocked down. But this is a beautiful flower, and I'm just thrilled I can show you this flower so you can see what this plant looks like in full flower. And look at the leaves. You can see how the leaves look like. They're long, skinny leaves. You might have a little bit of at the very bottom, just a tiny bit of that lion's tooth type look to them. I think I just stepped on that flower, unfortunately. But there you go. Isn't that beautiful? Again, it's also known as Carolina Blue Dream. So let's walk on back here, and we'll talk about uses. How do you use these medicinals? And by the way, as we're walking back, we'll see some other stuff here. But so we're going to cover 3 lettuces. Now I'm going to talk about 5 medicinal ways to use them. First one is actually use the sap directly. So these plants are known as analgesic. And analgesic means painkiller, or they're often called anodynes. You know, I'm walking up on another thing that's often used as analgesic, and that is willow. I did a video about willow. See the willow? Check my videos, click videos above, and go back and see why that's a natural aspirin, basically. Same acid as aspirin that does a painkiller for aspirin. Nice to talk about other painkillers while I'm talking about the lettuce, right? So let's start all over. The 5 uses. We'll start with the topical because that's the easiest one to do, the quickest and easiest. Topical. Basically, you take that white milky latex sap and apply it directly to a wound or an area of pain. And when you do that, you will get a painkilling effect right there topically. Now if you've got a bit of an injury, a insect bite, snake's bite, spider bite, I'd say, oh, look at this guy, this butterfly. I would say mix it up with, and I can't really see the screen directly in here. I hope y'all can see that yellow swallowtail, or whatever you call that. I would say mix it with maybe some plantain to give you more healing power. Chip with plantain poultice maybe. Put the milk sap directly on top, and then the plantain maybe. That's one way to look at it. So the first use is a topical. The second and third uses, you both dry the leaves. Now you can collect those leaves I just saw was dry, or you can collect fresh green leaves and dry them. Would probably be the best way. There's our butterfly back. You got to catch stuff like this, right? I hope I got them in the screen. There we go. Okay, it's not a butterfly video, but hey, come on, we got to have a little, take as we get it, right? Enjoy things. Right here in nature. You got to enjoy Mother Nature as it offers itself. Okay, so the second use is you dry the leaves and smoke them. Dry them and smoke them. That's said to give you pain relief properties. Drying them and smoking them. That doesn't mean it won't cause other problems that smoking might cause. You don't smoke anything without some kind of risk, no matter what it is, including certain herbal things that people like to smoke. And this is an herbal thing. So, but it is known to be a painkiller that way. The other, maybe more conventional way, is to dry them. You know, you got to crumble it up when you smoke it, but if you want to use them this way to make a tea, you need to grind it up a bit. So take the dry leaves and grind them up and make a tea. So this is your third use. So in the tea, you put a tablespoon of this in about a cup of boiling water. Let it cool and drink it. That's how you do the tea. Now the fourth method is more involved. It's an alcohol tincture. Now with the alcohol tincture method, well, I'm going to cover 2 alcohol methods here. We'll just say the 4th method is in conjunction with alcohol. One is your tincture. Basically, you take the leaves and you chop them up, and you put about 1 pound of them in a blender with 190 proof alcohol. It needs to be about 190 proof, just like, you know, I did the video on the sweet gum and using 190 proof. That will actually extract the active ingredients from the milk sap. So you can do that, blend it, let it steep, and then you can strain out the pulp, because that alcohol, after a while, let it steep for some time, and then you can drain out and strain either with a strainer or a cheesecloth and get the pulp out. Now you can do that in repeated cycles to make it more strong, but you don't want to make this stuff too strong. Let me advise against that, because the prescription for, you know, how do you use a tincture? You take a dropper and put a few drops under your tongue, typically with a tincture. You know, it's not something you're drinking. You know, you got to control your exposure to this. Now with anything like this, every time you make it, you know, you got different plants. You've the level of potency will vary every time you make this stuff. Every time you do anything like this, the level of potency is going to vary. So I would say use it very, very, very sparingly, maybe a drop initially, and see how you do with it, if you choose to do this. Again, I'm not prescribing this. Please understand, I'm not prescribing this. I'm telling you, if you do this, take precautions. And this is the type of precaution you might take, is taking it just a little drop at a time. You've heard that expression, right? Just a drop at a time. Well, some things, that's a good expression. It makes a lot of sense, right? So yeah, you chop it up and you do that. The other way is you take a bunch of that milk sap and you dry it. Now, see, it's hard to harvest a lot of milk sap. That's why maybe the preferred method is to chop it up into a blender, you know, a pound at a time, and press it and strain it with 190 proof alcohol. Now, if you do this other method, it's taking the sap, drying it, and dissolving it in wine. This is an old prescription. And you say you use about 1 ounce of this dried sap, and it's going to take you some time probably to get 1 ounce together, but 1 ounce of it with 1 gallon of wine. Then you take just a teaspoon of that and put it in a glass of water. Again, so you're not drinking that wine. You take a teaspoon of it and put it in a glass of water. And you might want to also do that in a lower dose to start with, because, well guys, I mean, I'm serious. These things can be very powerful. You need to be careful. I'm not prescribing them. I'm not saying to use them, but maybe when the grid goes down and you can't get any other medicines for painkiller, you know, it might be a go-to, okay? There are people that do use these, and I do know some people that do use them, and they're still alive. But I've heard horror stories too, so nobody I know directly, personally, the people I know that do use them are responsible individuals. So if you're planning to use this as a recreational drug, word of the wise, you might get in trouble, okay? Oh, by the way, it's actually legal. It's an unscheduled substance. It's legal to use these lettuces in America. It's legal to buy, to possess, plant, grow, buy, and sell them. But probably not as medicinal, just as a plant, as wild lettuce. And probably one of the reasons it's legal is it grows everywhere. It's like a weed. It's everywhere. There's no controlling it, right? So, yeah, good luck with that, right, people? All right, so that's funny. So the fifth way is a powdered capsule. Make a powder, and you can put it in capsules, or you could take and just a little bit of a tip of a tablespoon maybe, but about a capsule load. So what people do with this is they chop it up like the alcohol tincture method, and they chop it up real good and put it in the blender with water. Then they slow cook it. You slow cook it for 3 to 6 hours, but don't let it boil. You cook it down real slowly into a paste and pour it out on a liner. Then you put the liner in a dehydrator. You dehydrate it at 110 to 114 degrees till it's dry. You need to check it frequently. You don't want to burn it up. Then you peel it, and then when it's just ready to start crumbling, you peel it off, crumble it up, put it in a coffee grinder, grind it, and then you can put the powder in capsules. So how about that? So what we've talked about here is 3 lettuces. We've talked about how to use it as a topical analgesic, how to put the sap directly on your wounds, that you can take the dry leaves and smoke them. We've said you can take the dry leaves and make a tea. You can make an alcohol tincture, or you can put the dried sap into wine. And we've talked about using this to make a powder. So that's 5 different approaches, maybe 6, counting how you count the alcohol. It may be 2 separate approaches there. But you got at least 5, and you have 5 fingers on hand. I like to keep things at 5 when I can. You got at least 5 good approaches, 5 different ways to make medicines out of this stuff. Now show me another YouTube video that covers that to that level. Now in the future I might actually do some videos doing these. Now here is a ginormous, oh my God, how tall is that? That's more than that's more than 9 foot, my friends. Holy smoke. They say, yeah, actually the literature says 7 foot. My friends, and I've heard people say 9, that's taller. Holy smoke, that would dwarf a Sasquatch, probably. Maybe. So let's get up in here and look at this guy. Oh yeah, there's a thinner one. I don't see a lot of purple in this stem, but we know this is definitely Lactucca Verosa. Oh yeah, she's got a lot of sap in here. This one is good for the sap. Oh, this one's loaded with sap. These leaves would have the sap. That'd be the stuff. Leaves like this would be the ones you would want to put in and grind. And you can see, look at the pattern of these leaves. My friends, that is Lactucca Verosa. It's got lots of sap still in it. Even though the flowers have fallen off, it's just still big and green. Now the sap might have been whiter, milkier when it was a little bit younger, but that is still powerful stuff. That was a tall one. That's why I brought you back here. I wanted you to see that. This is wild lettuce. Look at these leaves. The stalks is coming to make flowerets, which will look like dandelion flowerets. This is in the same family as dandelion and lettuce in general. We'll break it off. You get a white sap. This is wild lettuce. You see it's got a lot of these little seed pods out here that are making little puff away, fly away seeds. Same fashion as the dandelion. These are essentially like gigantic dandelions, but they're not. But this one's all dried up. I don't think there's any sap left in it. You can see the purple stem. That's not as tall, but look at the leaf pattern, the purple in the stem. That's Lactucca Verosa also. And so is this one. It just hasn't got as big. But just look at the leaves and the purpleness. And this one is totally dried out. And maybe those leaves will be okay for smoking and making a tea. They might not be as impotent as it's older now. Look at this guy. Look at all the little puff balls up here. The pappus, as it's called. Now this one has highly serrated leaves all the way out. You might think it might be it's definitely over 7 foot tall. Still not quite as big. It's not purplish. That one can be confusing. That one possibly could be Lactucca canadensis. Possibly. But I still think it's probably Lactucca Verosa. I mean, sometimes you can get a little confusion, especially because these leaves are, you know, are lion tooth all the way to the top. But just the height of it, and the shaft isn't as big as, say, that one right there. But they don't have any purple in it. Well, it does have, okay. Yeah, I'd say it's Lactucca Verosa. It's just got a little different leaf pattern. These plants do vary from plant to plant. I would say it's Lactucca Verosa. Sometimes you really got to look at a plant to try to identify it. Yeah. Here's some more. And look at this giant one way back there. Holy smoke. Golly Pete. 10 or 12 foot. Look, the leaves have got no, none of those leaves got a line tooth except you get to the very bottom. You see that? And I got some goldenrod here. I should do a video on goldenrod. And blackberries almost past season. Maybe I'll do a blackberry video next year. Well, I might do one. Look at that, way up there. And goldenrod. So, there you have it. We've covered lettuce. 3 different varieties of lettuce. Often misidentified in other videos. Now I can understand why it's easy to do. I have covered 5 different medicinal uses. Some videos only, I've seen a video that had 1 million views on it, and it talked about one, and they only showed you 1 variety of lettuce. You got 1 million views. Good video, highly recommend it. Should you find it. But I have covered the ground on that. I've even tipped a little bit here on the once again on Willow. So know again, there are a lot of plants out here that you can use to eat, to treat, to keep you on your feet. You see the butterfly. And one of the best things you can get out of nature is to commune with it. It gives you a sense of peace and well-being. I really watch a butterfly and just about anything on television. Now when I did my video on Willow, these leaves were older. It was later in the season. See, these are nice and pretty and green. And bitter, just like aspirin. But that's a painkiller too. Woo. Yeah, they're bitter. So, with this, Lactucca canadensis. That's what I would think that is. Although the leaves are kind of peeling off up there, I would think that would be Lactucca canadensis. Wild lettuce. It's also known as opium lettuce. The tall one is, and some people refer to any of them as opium lettuce, but usually it's Lactucca Verosa. Wow, that's a really big persimmon on that tree. Holy smoke! Yeah, I got 3 persimmon trees that are fruiting here. I love it when Mother Nature provides the food. Can't beat it. Mother Nature provides food, medicine. If you know how to partake of these, the forests are alive with food, especially greens. You got to work a little harder to get the carbs. Probably really hard to get the carbs you need. That's typically found in tap roots. Sometimes some other sources. Cattail is a good one, but you don't find cattail growing just anywhere. That's why you need to grow some things to get your proteins and your carbs. It's still best if you can grow a garden. Grow potatoes. Grow sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are really good for you. Grow beans, peas. Those are good for your proteins. You need proteins. I mean, squash and all that's good to eat, but you need some proteins and you need some carbs to get through the day. Even if you might be on a low-carb diet, typically when it goes down, you're going to be working your tuchus off and you're going to need some carbs. Trust me. Not to mention, they're really good in minerals. Sweet potatoes and potatoes. And sweet potatoes are sweet. They're all good to eat. They're both high in carbs, as are a lot of tubers. So just remember that. You got to grow your own. Do that, and you got a good shot. Seeds are easy to carry if you have to go maneuvers. Potatoes might be a little different. You might bury them somewhere in the cache and come back to them later if you've got to maneuver. That's something to think about. By maneuvering, what are you talking about, Greg? Let's say the grid goes down so bad you got to bug out. Or let's say they come around and say you got to take a mark. And you don't want none. But it's required to buy and sell, right? But then you can't participate in the economy anymore. Mother Nature's still there. The greater creator provides. You just got to know how to use it. It's like Jesus was talking to his disciples. They were worried about, how would they eat. His reply was, does not God take care of the sparrows, the little birds? It's all there. Everything you need. You just need to know how to get it. It's called foraging. And yeah, if the whole world turned into foragers, we'd probably eat the woods up in no time flat. But most of the world will never do it because they don't know how to do it. They don't have the energy to do it. They would eat the wrong thing and they would kick over and do the funky chicken and pass out and expire. That's why you need to watch my videos so you know what you can eat. There's lots of things you can eat. And I'll do more of them. Eventually I'll go around the country one day and I'll do other areas. Southwest has different vegetation. There's different stuff up in the north, especially in the northwest, in the mountains, down in areas like Florida, different vegetations. Somebody asked me why I'm not covering that. Well, right now I'm just kind of limited in time of what I can travel and do. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, again, subscribe to the channel. Click the links below to support me. And thank you for watching. Bye-bye.